So today's agenda is going to be going through the Sprint 4 status, and then we'll go over Sprint 5 work for the adapter. The sprint will span about 2 weeks. We're looking at a feature freeze of end of the month. So I think what we want to discuss is let's go through what's left from Sprint 4, what's not finished and needs to go into Sprint 5, and then based upon the work in Sprint 5, whether we think the end of the month is a realistic time frame. And then it would be good for us to revisit the ONU adapter work and see if we need to either plan on having the adapter or whether we need an investigation to determine if we need the adapter. So that's the general agenda for today. Okay, so taking a look at the stories, I'll refresh it real quick just in case anyone's updated. So looking at this, we've got about we've got a decent number of open stories. So let's go through each of them. So the device side driver for each core, I saw a note here that there's a dependency on VOLTHA 299. So the coding and testing is complete, but there is a dependency on 299 to wrap it up.
Yes, Jan, the 299 is availability of the ball code in the GitHub. So we have not closed this task until we get the ball to be available on the open GitHub.
Okay, and then since that is in Sprint 5, I assume this will have to move out to Sprint 5 then?
Yes.
Initialization and activation of Maple Qumran using Val APIs. It has all testing complete, device side code ready. Sorry, I think I'm on the, yes. So all testing complete, device side code ready and tested successfully, awaiting Val driver build framework to be available on GitHub. So we have another dependency?
Yes.
In the build framework?
If someone else tried to talk, or that talk in the background, or someone tried to speak.
Okay. We'll move on to Vol 300, Val 2.4 release evaluation. My understanding is this is a general ongoing task. So is this something that is complete, or is this the general background ongoing task that is going to need to continue?
Well, this is Amit. Yeah, so as you rightly said, it's a general ongoing task. So we have done the evolution up to quite an extent, but there are still certain items which we are yet to evaluate. For things like assignment of alloc IDs and jump out IDs, they're yet to be evaluated. That has come in new into .4. So I would suggest that if you could keep that open and pull it into Sprint 5.
Do you know how many percentage of the evaluation already done?
Sean, I don't have an exact number, but I would say that quite a lot of it is done. There aren't too many things that are still like hazy, but I would say quite a lot of it is done. But I can't give a number.
Should we change the story point? Are we still at a week's worth of evaluation left, or just a day or two?
So we could reduce it, but some of those things are not very close-ended, or at least right now, because once we start understanding the new APIs, we don't know in how many days it could be closed, because we need to go to and fro with Broadcom on understanding.
So I think one of the things we may need to work through is there's only 2 weeks left, right? So does continued evaluation mean that there's going to be work that will be identified in 2 weeks that will be outside of the scope of this program, or will push this project out? So I think that's the question I have as we're talking about continued evaluation.
At least for the moment, we don't foresee anything which would like force things out. It's just a question of the amount of time it takes to understand the new APIs and to evaluate them.
Okay, but I think if we don't know them at this point, I don't know that the team has time to react to them within the next 2 weeks. So,
yeah,
right. So I don't know if that's being accounted for.
Yeah. So right now, I think we have a couple of things that are open, which we have initiated a communication with Broadcom for the understanding of the new APIs. That's the main thing right now. I think once we get over that, this task or user story should more or less be done.
Okay. And then send receive OMCI messages to the adapter using Val APIs.
Yeah, so this, I think, again, the same that we're waiting on 299, the availability of the library in GitHub. So it's done, coding and testing is done.
And by the way, is 299 waiting for delivery from the Edge core side?
Yes, delivery of the latest patch, as in patch on the latest release from Broadcom. Edge core needs to deliver that.
And I thought it was expected on August 11th.
No, after the Broadcom release, the Edge core need to take the software and then recompile it into that. I mean, they have to recompile the driver. I think that's what I understand. So it's not. So there's an intermediate step. Edge core need to engage after the Broadcom released the code. And Edge core has a couple of days delay because they couldn't get a hold of this the software from the Broadcom.
So what's the latest status? Is the software from Broadcom available, or is it still not
available? They received that now. They received, I think the Edge core received that on Monday. So do we know when the Edge core is going to deliver software?
Sean, I don't have a timeline from them as yet.
Do we know when we'll get a timeline or an update?
What I think they are working on it.
This is Sun. So we have asked, is anybody from the Edge core JSON or anyone there in the call? Usually it takes 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 working days for Edge core to give us the patch. So we have asked the date, and Jason responded that he's working on that, but there is no firm commitment as such.
Okay, so what I heard is things are a bit late. EdgeCore got this on Monday 9/14, and then this could potentially take another 3 or 4 more days, which means we're not closing out this story until the end of the week.
It's likely, yeah, you're right.
Okay. And then 251. ASF Volt 16 driver should have RPC to clear all flows from ONU. No comments. So
Yeah.
it's still to do.
Okay.
Go ahead, Amit.
Yeah, go ahead. That's good.
Yeah, I think we have not started it. I think we blocked on evaluation of the Broadcom APIs, so we are communicating with that. So we have not started this activity yet.
I have a question. So when EdgeCore, maybe it's too late to ask that, but when EdgeCore delivered their software, does everybody participate working on the adapter will receive the software, or the Redis's would deliver it again, or I don't know how the software delivery process from EdgeCore is doing.
Suhas, would you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, right now it's on a request basis. We generally keep a communication with them open, and we continuously request on follow up on the patches. So they release it to us. I'm not sure whether they release it to the outside to the community or to the on labs and all. They release it to Radisys via an email.
Okay.
But Suhas, what they provide is just the patch on top of the Broadcom source code, right?
They just provide a patch file on top of the Broadcom software. They don't do a software release as in.
Okay.
But I think the code from EdgeCore is released, is delivered with their OLT, right? So it should be up to EdgeCore to keep, have a way to get the latest version of that code that comes with the OLT, right? Now, whether that's through OnLab or EdgeCore directly, I'm not sure what the process is.
No, I just want to make sure all the participants on this project will receive the software, right? So it's not just Redis is receiving that, right? The Sienna and Nokia and Atran or whoever is working on that will be receiving the same patches also. So I think the last caller or speaker was that Sean?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just people aware that the patch is coming up, huh?
So I guess what's the plan for making it available? Is the patch getting committed to the code base? How is it getting distributed?
So is the patch will be you guys will receive and that actually loaded on the the OLT itself. It's not loaded on anywhere in the VOLTHA, right? Or adapter.
No, not on the adapter. It has to be, the patch is applied on top of the Broadcom software, and we need to rebuild all the binaries again, and those binaries are loaded onto the Edge Core OLT.
So it's on the Edge Core OLT.
Yes.
So how do we make sure whoever has the Edge Core OLT will get updated?
So, Sean, along with the Edge Core royalty, they need access to the Broadcom source code because the patch applies on top of the Broadcom source code.
But it sounds like it's getting built into binaries, right? So the binaries should be available.
Yeah, what I'm saying, I think whoever is contributing for this adapter, right? They need to be able to have the same software running on their OLT. So I'm if that's not an issue, I guess I have not heard other people complaining about not getting the software or the patches. Then I'm okay. But maybe later on in next release, we need to have more mechanized process on that.
Yeah.
Because that those changes span across the Maple and the Qumran parts of it also. So I don't think we will be able to share that right away to the community. It has to be mostly taken up by Broadcom and Edge Core only on releasing it to the community.
So what you're saying is when the Edge Core has a patch, then they will send it to also Sienna and Nokia and Atran or whoever, and then these participants, they need to do the compilation of themselves also.
I'm not sure whether they are sending it to other participants. They are sending it to Radisys because on follow-up.
So let me address. So far there has been, this is Sant. So far there has been 2 patch releases from the Jason Ektan, and he has sent information to OnLab, Shining, and Redsys guys, copying their own stakeholder Ektan and Edgecore. So
okay. So potentially that's just something happened and we don't need to worry about it. As long as OnLab has a copy, I think I'm okay. And yeah. regarding to other, as long as the Shad received the software, then I'm fine. Whatever other people work, they just work with the Edge Core directly. That's fine with me too. But later on, then we were going to have a little bit. For example, AT&T, we have our software, we have the OLT also, so I need to be able to upgrade those once I get my stuff turned up. Okay, so I think that's something right now. Maybe, as I said, maybe too late to address this more mechanized mechanism, but later on we definitely need to keep it.
Yeah, so what we can do here is, at least for the patch perspective, so he should also copy to Sienna and Nokia along with our staff stakeholders. In case he's not doing, I think we can just include even you are in the mail, so you can share also with Sienna and Nokia guys.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems like ultimately there's going to be some binary that has to be versioned and released periodically, I guess.
Right.
So I've taken
so that release process, Shoshan, this is the release process that we need to discuss and come up with some kind of mechanism how the binaries will be there. So as Suhas and Amit has mentioned, the patch is on top of the BAL source code or compilable that we have. Redsys owns that, and we apply the patch and put the binary in the edge code. So if anyone in the community is going to kind of do this kind of thing, so there should be a proper process. Who is going to generate the library and put what is the location, and those kind of mechanism has to be established.
Yep.
So I've taken notes that we'll take it into account for the next release. So if we're good, can we move on to the next thing?
Please, yeah.
Is there any documentation so far regarding to how to upgrade the patches?
There's a build broadcom 2.4. So basically, the last patch was on the earlier release of BAL. So there is a build instruction. So that I can share. Sean, I think you are there in the mail. If you look,
It's
I know there's so many mails, and I don't know which one is important, which one is not. So I need to help with that. But what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to attract a more carrier operator to be involved, and I'm sure they're going to be very interested in this adapter also. So I think the more mechanized, so it's not just the contributor going to be involved with this adapter or taking the software. So I think as a community, we need to be taking the responsibility to promote this adapter, and then to make it mechanized, and then and have a documentation available. So Son, maybe something. This is something we can talk for the before next release. So because this is not part of the core, so this is a device specific driver, which though it's part of the reference design. So so yeah, we need to talk about this next release.
Sure.
So we'll cover it as something that we'll want to make sure is being handled as part of the next release when we start our planning sessions. Make a note of that.
Okay, I'm going to stay quiet a little bit.
Just until we get through Sprint 4. Because I think Sprint 5 is not going to be pleasant. Okay, so all packetins in the southbound of EdgeCore adapter can be trapped using BAL trap to host command. This is Bull 181. It looks like it's still in to do. Let's see if we have any comments that are updated.
There are no comments. I just linked it to the dependent user story.
It's depending on the user story 252.
252.
Okay, so that's in progress. And this is a week long, so we'll probably have to take a look at 252 and see when it'll complete, right? So I don't know if Tim or folks have done kind of the analysis of what's left over in the dependencies to see where we land for Sprint 5, but we'll discuss real quick after this. So okay, so this one, we have a dependency on 252. Okay. And then Maple 2.4 port release to EdgeCore. This is from Jason. And this was the one where we said it was going to be another 3 to 4 days?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have Jason online at all? Nope.
Yeah, they have not been on call for the last couple of meetings, so.
Okay, so let's take a look at Sprint 5. So if we look at Sprint 4, it's all done. There's actually a couple of stories done in Sprint 4 that we should discuss real quick before we close it out. But let's take a look at Sprint 5. So looking at Sprint 5, we have a lot of stories. The good news is it seems like there are a few of them that are dependent on 299. And 361 essentially. So based upon what we have left in Sprint 5 and the fact that we have 2 weeks left, can you guys help me understand what's at risk? Or do we feel that we can actually make the 2-week date when we have a feature freeze?
Hi, this is Amit. Yeah, so it's going to be tight in 2 weeks to get over all of this, but the user stories that I would want to highlight are as you already mentioned, 361, 299. Quite a few stories are dependent on those. Apart from that, vol 202 and vol 252. Maybe you could pull 252 up on the to just show that it has a higher priority, because a lot of the other user stories are dependent on vol 252. Yeah. So so 202 and 252, I would say, are the base user stories. Quite a few user stories might get done or not done depending on how these two user stories go.
And 202 is still to do. So what is blocking this from being started?
No, we can get started with it. So actually, we have started working with the TNW ONU, trying to make it work with the. Hello. Yeah,
Yes.
trying to make it work with the Broadcom ONU adapter. So we are. Hello. Yeah.
We have some noise in the background or something.
Yeah. Sorry, Sven.
Okay, I mean.
Yeah, sorry, some disturbance. Yeah, so we started working with the TNW ONU, and we are seeing some behavior there which is not really expected, and we have started communicating with the TNW guys. We had one communication with them, but yet to hear back again from them. So maybe Steve is on the call. Might be good to just discuss with Steve, because I thought in the last call he said that they were able to bring up the TNW ONU with the Broadcom ONU adapter. So one observation that we have is that the TNW ONU is replying back for DHCP messages. So it looks like it is doing a gateway functionality. And not sure about the EAPOL messages. So Steve, could you please let us know what kind of testing you did with the TNW ONU? Maybe you could.
So yeah, so to this point, we haven't been using it with an adapter. It's been, I'll say, manual interaction. So using the Maple API to send a sequence of OMCI commands. So basically doing the setup manually that the adapter would be doing.
Okay. Yeah, so on this, go ahead, Sal.
No, I think they're the 10 gig interface. I forget the exact rate that we've been able to. I'll try and dig up an email while we're talking here, but it hasn't been able to forward 10 gig. I forget exactly what the rate was. But we have not been using it with an adapter. Yeah.
Okay, and just one more query. Even the commands, OM commands, whatever is used, it's almost same for what is there in the Broadcom OM adapter.
They're very similar, yeah. Although they're based on the gateway image, right? So they aren't those commands that are currently part of the Broadcom ONU adapter. They're commands that are targeted at the SFU or the non-RG image. So specifically, there's no VEIP interface on the SFU non-RG version.
Okay, thanks.
So it sounds like this is a bit risky, right? Because as it is, the current story point is that it spans the sprint.
Yes, Ian. So this is going to take some to and fro communication with TNW and see how we can proceed with this.
Okay, so we'll have to monitor this one pretty closely.
Is TNW here today? I don't think so, right? No.
So, okay, so I would say probably have a separate call, just specifically to address this issue. I know the engineer in TNW is in China, so, and also with the Amit, you guys India. So maybe we can find a time slot like some maybe the afternoon this week, and I well, I don't want to talk about NDA, but you know, can we get that established? Let me talk to. I'll send out an email to Mr. Lee, and including the major lead here in this email, and in this group, and then I'll propose a afternoon meeting. May not be good for the East Coast folks, but let's see what we can do. Or maybe actually very good for, no, probably not. But let's see what we can do.
Yeah, Sean, this is San. So I have asked for, there are a few communications from the Yang Lee from TNW, and he explained the current behavior of TNW ONUs. And it seems that the current functionality, what we are expecting in TNW ONU is, it's not there. So I have requested for a call, engineering call between the TNW engineering and RedSys engineering. I didn't hear any response. So yeah, your email may help us to kind of discuss that, what features are supported and what are not. And if there is any gap, then how soon can they support?
Yep.
Yeah, so I just found this email. So our folks that are working with that TNW ONU have not been able to get more than 15% of the 10 gig traffic. I think
yeah,
for Fox 3 though, that the RG is only 1 gig anyway. Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Steve, this is Suhas. Is there any documentation shared by TNW on the commands and usage of the TNW?
Not that I'm aware of. Personally, I'm not using it. It's a group in another location that is in San Jose. I think I can share the OMCI commands that we're sending. That's there's nothing magical about them.
Yeah, I think that will be helpful.
Okay, yeah, I'll find those and I can share those commands with everybody. But as far as documentation, yeah, I'm not aware of any. That doesn't mean there isn't any. I'll have to ask.
Okay.
Okay, so from a next step standpoint, Sean, are you going to coordinate a call?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
I'm actually, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then Steve is going to share the OMCI commands and follow up on any documentation.
Yeah, we did ask about the non-RG or the SFU version of that image, and we were told it was not going to be available until post POC 3. So maybe that's something we can talk about, Sean, whenever you set up this call.
Yep. Is anybody working with Alpha? That's a question to the team. Okay. Thanks. I'll send out an email and have Mr. Lee on the call. Okay.
Okay, so I've taken notes on that. And then, so what I'm hearing is 202, 252 are gating other work, and then 362 on 299 are also blocking other items. And so these top four are the ones that we'll need to monitor. But other than that, can work progress on the other ones? I saw that for the other ones, code was developed and tested. It was just gating or being blocked by this to really get in. Are there other things that we need to be concerned about? For example, I see that this is supposed to span a sprint and has not been started.
Yeah, I think even this has a dependency on this 252 too, because this is about configuration of the flows to the OLT device using the BAL APIs. So we are facing issues when we try to do the same, and we just sent a mail to Broadcom regarding the same and are waiting on the reply.
Okay, and then in general, has Broadcom been pretty responsive? So is there something here that someone needs to follow up on also to make sure that we get responses in a timely manner?
Not sure. Maybe I can add Sean in this as a CC list.
Okay.
Normally we use Broadcom CSP. There is a portal which they provided us to raise issues.
I'll also bring this risk back to the AT&T team and see what we can do about, at least on the ONU side. I'm sorry, my brain's still on the ONU side.
Okay. I'm like, there's the TNW side, and then it sounds like we also have some concerns around getting information from Broadcom.
Okay.
So there's a couple things, right? There's the ONU, and then we've got some outstanding questions around Broadcom APIs in order to get some of these other features done. The one we're currently talking about, 304, is being blocked by 252. And the concern is that some of these work items are looking like they'll either span 1 week or a whole sprint. And the items that are spanning a whole sprint, and we haven't started them already, there's a big risk concern.
Okay. I believe, if I remember correctly, we did said as long as the if what I'm trying to say is about the gem port. Anyway, I'm not ready to say we can go back to the old model yet. So if we have to, that may be something, the fixed model. That may be something we can roll back to.
Well, let's keep monitoring. So at tomorrow's meeting, let's get a quick status update on where things are at. And then we'll continue doing the same with each of the meetings, right, Tuesday through Thursday. And then I think next Wednesday, let's get an assessment of where we're at. That'll be about 1 week away from the end of the sprint. Let's see where we're at and see whether we need to start cutting anything or looking for a backup plan. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll give it 1 week to see what flushes out.
Maybe after the total eclipse, everything start working. So who knows?
You're not optimistic. It's all a path of totality. I'm kind of scared about what's going to happen.
or after the total eclipse, there's a meteor.
Have to worry
some
about
meteor
anything.
hit. The meteor will hit, and then we don't have to worry about all these issues anymore.
Enough, I think these issues are easier to deal with.
Sorry, I just want to lighten up the mood a little bit.
Yes, it's either work on these issues or apparently it's death and dismemberment. Okay, so we've moved everything to sprint 5. The only thing I wanted to follow up on was there were a couple of things in the backlog for sprint 4. So let's go through that real quick. And then we'll close out sprint 4 and then continue monitoring over the next few days. So the 2 issues I think I saw that were left in sprint 4 were these issues without epics. Yay, so that one's closed. So there's only one left. Update, getting started Linux markdown document as par with VOLTHA 1 release. It looks like it's in progress. Is this something we're looking at trying to do in sprint 5?
Yeah, so I think the changes for that has been submitted to Gerrit. I'm not sure why the user story is not updated, but it's not, the review is not yet closed. So I think we should push it to sprint 5. Mark it as done after the review is closed.
Okay, so let me move that to VOLTHA sprint 5. So taking a look at where we're at. Okay, so I'll close out sprint 4. All the stories in here should be completed. And then as we look at sprint 5, we've got the stories that were moved there. I think the note here is the 4 items at the top are essentially gating everything. So we'll actively monitor those. And then what we'll want from folks is, as we're monitoring these, flag the things that are falling out based upon the scope of the work items, right? So we're talking about the end of sprint being August 31st, and that's what we're targeting to be able to really close this down and try to finish it up. What is at risk? So we'll continue that, monitoring that at the meetings. And then for sprint 5, we've got the items that we had moved around backup restore, high availability, and the ONOS apps. And so we'll keep an eye on those. I believe the versioning ones were supposed to be closed out within a few days. And so we'll keep an eye on those as we go through the integration sprint that is VOLTHA Sprint 5. And then tomorrow's meeting, David Bainbridge is going to be updating us on the branching strategy. So part of this is going to be working through, we're going to need to get a support branch created for VOLTHA 1.0. The goal for that would be probably start getting it set up early next week. And then this way, as defects come in, they'll go to that branch, and then we'll talk through for the adapter release, where does that work occur, and how do we expect that to be integrated, especially based upon the timing and whether testing has started or not yet. So we'll work through some of those issues tomorrow. Other than that, the only thing I had on the agenda was for Yang to update us on the TNW adapter, but he's not here, so I think Sean was going to take that action item to set up a meeting. So besides this, anything outstanding or that we need to discuss? Okay, if not, I think we're good for today's meeting, and then we'll pick things up tomorrow. For tomorrow, the branching, and then I want to make sure that we do a quick sync up on status for the various items. Okay?
Great.
That's
Thanks.
it. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.